So good evening and welcome everyone to tonight's Cabinet meeting. My name is Councillor Rowena Hay and I'm leader of the Council. We don't have any members of the public with us tonight, but anybody, it's just to say that if we will be, there is CCTV in operation out in the foyer, but also that we will be recording these meetings and they're live streamed. There's no fire alarm expected, so please do move if it says or goes off. I have apologies from Councillor Collins and Councillor Clucas for tonight. Could I ask if any members have got any interests on any of the agenda items that they wish to declare? No, thank you very much. We then move on to the minutes of the last meeting, which you can find on pages 5 to 18 of our agenda. Is there any member that wishes to make any comment on those minutes? No. Could I see a show of hands to approve those minutes, please? Thank you. That's unanimous. We don't have any public or member questions or petitions tonight. And that leads us on to the next section, section 2. And we don't have anything that's referred from council, overview and scrutiny or any of the other committees either tonight. And so that takes us on to the report section. The first report for tonight is the Corporate Health, Safety and Wellbeing Policy Review. And that's the report and that fits under the leader's portfolio. So that agenda item is all about the council's updated corporate health and safety and wellbeing policy. And this policy is a legal requirement under the Health and Safety at Work Act. But more than that, it's a statement of how seriously this council takes the safety and wellbeing of its staff, its contractors and everyone affected by the work that this council does. The update comes at an important time with housing services now fully brought back in-house and overall responsibility for health and safety moving from the Chief Exec to the Deputy Chief Executive. It was the right moment to review and therefore refresh this policy. The revised document sets out 3 key parts: a clear statement of intent, defined responsibilities across the organisation and practical arrangements for how health and safety will be managed day to day. While the first 2 parts are ready for approval, the third, covering the detailed arrangements, is still being finalised and will be completed later this summer. And this really isn't just about ticking boxes, it's about embedding a strong safety culture across the council, making sure everyone knows their role and ensuring we're proactive in managing the risks. The policy has been shaped through consultation with staff, with trade unions and health and safety experts, and it reflects a shared commitment to keeping people safe and well at work. The recommendations are clearly set out, but does any member wish to comment? No. Can I therefore say, can I see a show of hands to approve them as set out? Thank you, that's unanimous. That leads us on to the next agenda item, which is the review of taxi and private hire licensing, which is the report of Councillor Atherstone.
Thank you, Leader. In spring 2025, we consulted on the proposed changes to our taxi and private hire licensing policy to bring Cheltenham Borough Council's policy up to date with best practice, such as to mandate card payment machines within vehicles and to deliver an updated vehicle licensing policy for carbon emissions aspirations in the borough. All proposals from the consultation have been recommended for adoption, except for the zero emission aspirations, as you will note from the recommendation as set out in the report, as further review is required. This is due to various reasons, including lack of charging infrastructure, timescale and cost to the trade, who are struggling at present, and concerns of licence shopping across neighbouring districts until a county-wide agreement is sought. This review will be conducted this month with a view to adopting the revised policy wording by October 2025. We will consult with key stakeholders to gather their views on a carbon neutral approach, including CBC's climate change team, Gloucester County Council, our air quality team, and you as our cabinet. Key adoptions from this policy review include all vehicles replace like for like. For example, a wheelchair accessible vehicle must always be replaced with a wheelchair accessible vehicle. Lessening the maximum period of time a vehicle test may be carried out before the start of a new vehicle licence down to 1 month. Licensees are now required to display in their licensed vehicles guidance for passengers on making complaints or compliments directly to the licensing authority. All Hackney and private hire vehicle proprietors to fit and ensure a card machine or device is available to take card payments with sanctions for non-compliance without good cause or in certain situations such as loss of mobile data signal. Medical assessment frequency has been brought into line with DVLA guidelines for bus and lorry drivers and the frequency reduced, which is the Group 2 driver standard for medical fitness and Hackney and private hire drivers. All licensed vehicles must be of at least Euro 6 emission standards by their renewal date in 2026. Clarification on what vehicles must be provided for a temporary replacement. Lessening the burden on vehicle proprietors for Hackney carriage taximeter tests by reducing the frequency of these tests. Topographical questions removed from the knowledge test for private hire drivers only, further to guidance from the Department for Transport. Confirmation that all taximeters in Hackney carriages will be calendar controlled. Clarification on roof sign dimensions. Implementation of requirements for a director or person with management responsibility for private hire vehicle operators to have carried out safeguarding training. Clarification of the situation where first aid kits and fire extinguishers should be used. Private hire operators must notify the licensing team when a driver or vehicle commences or ceases working for them. Updated enforcement and complaints policy to include strikes. Lost property to be returned to the owner or taken to a police station within 48 hours. Private hire operator returns to be submitted monthly, which are currently quarterly. Vehicles that have been involved in accidents and subsequently written off will not be licensed. And individuals who fail the knowledge test after 6 attempts now must wait for a period of 6 months until they are permitted to resit the test. I'd like to say a huge thanks to our officers, especially Michelle, for providing such thorough policy updates in this year's review. And a big thank you overall to our licensing trade who serve our communities daily. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Atherstone. Any member got any questions? Councillor Pinniger? Yeah, questions. Yeah, no, questions, comments, let's say. Anybody like to comment?
Thank you, Leader. I just wanted to note and welcome, as the Cabinet Member for the Climate Emergency, the further consultation taking place this month about our 2030 net zero climate emissions ambitions. So thank you for including that.
Councillor Baker?
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Atherstone, for your thorough report. It's a really good report. It's a really good set of proposals. It brings the policy up to date. For me, a big thing about our taxi drivers is their knowledge of their community, of the town. And I feel that the suggestion about the knowledge test is overly generous. I don't think there's any exam I can think of that I can take 6 times before I then have to wait 6 months to take it again. And I think it's a really important part of the taxi driver's skill set. So I would ask, if possible, that you can take that back. I think it's overly generous. It may accord with what other towns do, I don't know, but I think it's overly generous.
Thank you, Councillor Baker. I've actually got Michelle is indicating. Is that, are you happy?
Thank you, Leader. The reset is actually for 3 failures, sorry, Councillor Athelston. So it's when they fail 3 times, they have to wait a period of 6 months. It is also for our private hire drivers, not our Hackney carriage drivers. So the chaps that you see on the taxi rank, they will still have to do a topographical question test so they understand the area thoroughly. With regards to private hire drivers, all those journeys are pre-booked, so they can plan the journey beforehand. Thank you.
Councillor Atherton.
Thank you so much for that, Michelle. I actually did believe it was 3 months, but I've corrected myself to 6 months. I think I might have missed an error in the report. I'm so sorry, and we'll correct that. So I do apologise. Thank you for clarification.
Councillor Jeffries, did you indicate? Is there any other member? If not, could I see a show of hands to agree this? Thank you, that's unanimous. So the next agenda item is the Neighbourhood Community Infrastructure Levy Allowance. And Councillor Collins is in his absence, I will present or read out what he has sent by way of an introduction. So it's my pleasure to present this report. It contains the recommendations for round 2 of neighbourhood SIL funding. I would like to thank the Neighbourhood SIL funding panel and officers who have worked extremely hard in making these recommendations to Cabinet. It is not an easy task. This funding pot is available to any group, organisation or club to submit a bid to help with the cost of implementing a community-based project. It is worth spending a few moments to explain that the SIL funding process is made up of a number of different pots that can be allocated to various projects. There is the Strategic Fund, the largest of the pots that can be allocated to major strategic projects anywhere in the strategic local plan area. The Parish Fund, that allows those areas in the borough that are parish to allocate funding to projects in the parished areas of the borough, and this pot, the Neighbourhood Fund, which is available for smaller local projects in the parts of the borough that are unparished. I'm sure that you've all read this report that contains the recommendations from the Neighbourhood SIL panel, but I must point out that these are recommendations. The final decision on allocation of funding sits with Cabinet. There are a total of 28 approved bids, who each sought a share of the £119,839.02 that was available in the pot. The Neighbourhood SIL panel have recommended that 15 of those approved bids should receive either the whole amount that they bidded for or a percentage of their bid. It must be stressed that no more than the total contained in the pot can be allocated. But if Cabinet feels that some funding should be retained for a later round of funding, then we have the discretion to do that. That said, some additional funding has been made available at the 11th hour. An additional sum of £28,645 is now available to be allocated in this funding round, taking the overall total of the neighbourhood pot to £148,583. I think we might have dropped off a 2 somewhere. That means that Cabinet can decide to either allocate the funds to additional projects or increase the amount to some of those that have already been recommended by the panel. And he said, in closing, I'd like to say what a fantastic and diverse set of bids that we've received from all over the town. So I'd like to thank all the groups and organisations that took time to submit a bid and engage in the process. And long may this continue. So it now falls to Cabinet to make the final decision on which projects benefit, either in full or in part, from this funding source. So those are Councillor Collins' words. Is there any member that would like to comment? So I've got Councillor Baker.
Thank you. Well, I had the pleasure of chairing this committee last time round, and I know firsthand how thorough the applications and how well researched they are, but equally how thorough our officers are in going through each application to ensure that they stack up, they're viable, and they're deliverable. And I think the key thing for me is we want this money spent, and we want to spend it in the current year. So every scheme that's been put forward and has been approved or recommended, should I say, by the committee is deliverable. And that's really, really important. Also, what I think is important is the geographical spread of the schemes. And so we can see that the money is being spread around the town and not just focused in one or two particular areas where there may be particularly strong local organisations. So I think it's credit to all those organisations in the town which have really got together, researched their bids and put them in. And it's great that we can support as many schemes as we have done.
Councillor Atherstone.
I'd just like to echo what Paul has just said with regards to the spread. And I particularly love the map in the report this time round, showing where the investments have gone. And in terms of the extra funding that has been acquired since the report, the funding bid closed, the two projects have my absolute support. I think that the Honeybourne line also, I think all residents that make use of the Honeybourne line understand the challenges we have in terms of graffiti. And I'm very, very keen to see beautiful murals in their place instead. And to say a special thanks to all of the local community groups in St Peters, particularly the ward I represent, for making such great representations. And those 4 projects are going to make significant improvements to the infrastructure in our ward. So thank you.
Councillor Telford.
Thank you, Leader. I just want to say, obviously, my support for all of the recommendations. It's really great to see the neighbourhood SIL funding here again, supporting our areas that some of us represent, of Cheltenham that fall outside of a parish and would otherwise be left behind in terms of this additional funding. I think it really does go a long way to actually supporting those community organisations particularly. And I really do want to show my support for recommendation 2 for the additional monies for the Paint Festival murals and the contribution to the capital feasibility study for the Playhouse. I think it's a really important project for the future of that building, and it is another way our council is showing support for such a vital community organisation. Thank you.
Councillor Jeffries.
Thank you, Leader. I don't want to be the voice of doom, but I've got a bit of one to watch, you may say, a bit of a negative, so I thought I'd put it in there anyway. Don't get me wrong, I really do support spending community infrastructure levy funding directly into our communities. But a couple of colleagues have mentioned the map, and there are actually 2 wards which didn't have any bids, and there was 1 ward which had bids with no funding. So we need to think it's incumbent upon this council to try and encourage bids from those areas and make sure those areas aren't left behind, because clearly there are lots of active community organisations. And I've told my community, make sure you bid. But unfortunately, we need to, I think, make those community organisations aware and do that a little bit more so that we don't find that year on year that the same organisations or the same communities are receiving this funding and actually some communities get left behind. So I don't want it to be too much of a negative, because I know we're celebrating spending money into our communities, but we need to really watch that we are spending monies in all of our communities. Thank you, Chair. Leader.
Thank you. You make a really valid point, Councillor Jeffries. And I think there's that, this is only the second round of our SIL, and we learnt last time to change it for this time to make improvements. And I think, that's a very valid point that we need to take on board. And I think sometimes as well, there was a comment I know in when I was looking through those of a project that nobody knew what it was really about, because actually it was put in by an individual in a very specific location. Really good, but as a local ward councillor for that ward, I knew exactly what it was. So it's using our councillors' knowledge as well. It's not just about the council, but us actually thinking this area has missed out this time. Can I see a show of hands to approve the recommendations as they're set out? Thank you very much. That's unanimous. So the next report on tonight's agenda is, we're halfway through, is the Food Safety Service Plan, and that's the report of Councillor Atherstone.
Thank you, Leader. This report outlines our Food Safety Service Plan for the year ahead and summarises the work and outcomes of the previous year. We have a statutory duty as a council to ensure public health and safety across all food businesses, from cafes, restaurants and hot food kiosks to schools, hotels and food production sites across all of Cheltenham. Our service plan ensures national priorities and standards are addressed and delivered here locally. Our priority aims and objectives of the service plan include ensuring all businesses have effective food safety controls in place and that our responsibilities as a food competent authority are fulfilled and compliant with agri-food chain legislation. Investing and managing complaints of non-compliance with appropriate enforcement actions. Managing food incidents and hazards, including outbreaks of food poisoning and foodborne illnesses. Conducting reactive and proactive sampling, or where sampling is necessary to determine business compliance with legal requirements. Conducting proactive surveillance to obtain an accurate picture of the local business landscape, to include new or recently closed businesses and businesses where the overall risk has increased. Maintaining the credibility of the food hygiene rating system scheme, in particular responding to requests for revisits in line with our documented processes. Conducting specific sector controls to support trade and enable food export, ensuring all officers delivering official controls meet and maintain the competency requirements within the Food Law Code of Practice. As of the 1st of April 2025, we regulated 1,102 registered food businesses in Cheltenham and carried out 545 business interventions over the previous year. The majority of food businesses lie within the risk category of C, D and E that only need inspections every 18 months or up to 2 years, or an alternative enforcement strategy. That said, food businesses can move between categories. Business compliance within the borough is high, and 99% of registered businesses classed as broadly compliant, currently rated 3 as satisfactory or above on the food hygiene rating scheme. In the previous year, we issued 433 warning letters detailing both minor and major contraventions, 5 hygiene improvement notices and 1 voluntary closure. I would like to thank our officers for their extremely hard work and for producing this very detailed report. Colleagues, I ask you to approve the Food Safety Service Plan as set out in the report. Thank you.
Thank you. Any member like to comment? Councillor Baker.
Just briefly, Leader, Cheltenham's restaurant offer, I think, is second to none. It really is a huge factor in our town's tourism offer and indeed offer for local residents. I mean, for me, one of my joys, our joys, is going out for a meal. There's such a fabulous choice of restaurants in our town. So they are all to be congratulated, but also to be congratulated, we have just 3 staff carrying out all these inspections that you refer to. And the fact that we get so few complaints, I don't think I've ever had a complaint. I might have had to send some food back because it was cold ones, but you know, the fact we have so few complaints shows what a good job our team do in carrying out those inspections in good time. So I think it's congratulations to the staff and congratulations to all our restaurants and indeed all the other institutions, including the takeaways and mobiles, et cetera, So it's a great part of our offer. It's a really important part of our offer. So long may it continue. Thank you.
Councillor Telford.
Thank you, Leader. I love food hygiene ratings. It's a really weird thing. It's the point my family will check before they book a table anywhere because they'll be like, he'll look it up otherwise and it'll be a whole thing. But ignoring that weirdness, I think things like this are so important for protecting residents and visitors, particularly those who are vulnerable to foodborne illnesses and things like that, like pregnant women and things like that. I think it's really important to make sure people are as safe as possible. So I really do support this, and I think from an economy point of view, it really does help give confidence to customers and tourists and visitors that actually I feel safe eating at that place. And I think when they go around that high street and see, oh, people are trying their best to hit those higher levels, I think it does give confidence that we care as a town about people's safety and about the quality they're going to get. Thank you.
I can't see any other member. Is there anything you want to come back on, Councillor Atherstone? No? Can I just see a show of hands to approve the recommendation? That's unanimous. Thank you very much. The next agenda item is the compliance and strategy and policies. And again, Councillor Clucas is not with us, so I will introduce that report. So the Cheltenham Borough Council is undertaking a comprehensive update of our compliance strategies and associated policies to ensure that the alignment with legal and regulatory obligations across all our landlord and compliance areas. And this initiative supports the Council's responsibility as a housing provider and aims to embed a consistent, risk-aware and resident-focused approach to compliance. The updated policies will clearly define roles, responsibilities and obligations. It will outline strategic objectives and operational delivery methods. It'll include robust frameworks for performance monitoring, quality assurance and escalation of non-compliance. And it will be reviewed at least every 2 years or sooner if there are legislative changes that need to be made. Each policy will be supported by detailed operational process maps and procedures, so to ensure that there's clarity on how compliance is delivered in practice. These documents will cover milestones, timescales, interdependencies and poor performance metrics, but the overarching aim is to provide assurance to residents, regulators and stakeholders that Cheltenham, this council, is committed to maintaining safe, compliant and well-managed homes. And, you know, very much by bringing this back, bringing our housing back into we've shown a very strong leadership in that, and it's important that having followed that, we need to update some of our policies, which is what this report that Councillor Clucas has been leading on. So is there any member wish to make a comment? No? It's a very comprehensive report, I have to say. But can I see a show of hands then to approve the recommendations? Thank you. Again, that's unanimous. So the next agenda item is the Business Improvement District and that bid report, which is the report that I'm bringing to Cabinet tonight. So Cheltenham Business Improvement District, or BID for short, now I've said it once, is a really, really important partner to us. We couldn't, you know, they help us to maintain and look after and provide entertainment, opportunities, events for businesses in themselves, but also for the public and visitors. So they're very, very much part of our economy, not just the businesses that they work for or that subscribe to that. And the bid team has let us know that they're planning to go ahead with a renewal ballot. And their current term runs until the end of March next year. And they're very much hoping to secure another 5 years. So that would take us from April 26 through to March 2031. Under the official regulations, the council has a few key responsibilities in this process. And we need to make sure that the BID's business plan lines up with our own policies and processes, we need to make sure that, and it doesn't place any unfair financial pressure on any of our local businesses. We also have to provide a clear statement of the services we already deliver in the bid area, manage the collection of bid levy payments and report back to the bid company. To keep everything on track, we'll be setting up a monitoring group, and this will include council officers, cabinet members and bid representatives, and they'll meet at least twice a year to review progress. Overall, this report is about making sure the renewal process is fair, transparent and in line with Cheltenham's wider goals for economic growth and community development. I think I'd like to take the opportunity just to say a very big thank you to Fran Inman, Chief Executive of the bid, and actually to the bid board members, because it's businesses are finding life tough one way or another in some capacity, but there's a lot of people who are very engaged in that bid board who give up their time to put their energy into this. So I'd like to just place on record my thanks to that bid board as well. I'll open it up for any members to comment or questions. Councillor Tailford.
Thank you, Leader. I really do hope when this goes ahead and the ballot happens that businesses will see the value in Cheltenham bid and back them for the ballot for another 5 years, because the amount of support they show for the businesses within our town centre is quite staggering, really. Since taking on this new portfolio, I've had many meetings with Fran Inman at the bid, and she has been fantastic at representing those businesses' views and fighting for their needs. We met just yesterday to discuss some of the ongoing and upcoming initiatives we're working on together where we can support our town centre businesses. And recently they've been involved in many positive things that they've delivered, including a really successful graffiti removal pilot where they were working with us and with the Police and Crime Commissioner, which has been really successful. And I think, again, another thing where they are working alongside other organisations to deliver something that is an improvement for our businesses, but also is an improvement for all of our residents and visitors alike. And they're also going to be a key stakeholder as we move forward with the new county council administration on what we want the town centre to be like, and feeding in the businesses' opinions as well as us bringing in some of the public opinions too. And there's so many challenges face our small businesses, particularly at the moment, particularly with relation to business rates and governments reducing support for the amount that they can get. The more representation and support they get from Cheltenham bid, the better. Thank you.
Councillor Atherstone.
Thank you, Leader. You said exactly what I wanted to say also, and that Councillor Tailford has said, is also to put my thanks on record for CEO Fran Inman. I too have had been fortunate to work with her across my cabinet portfolio of safety and communities, whether that's working on No Child Left Behind initiatives, and the bid has been really supportive in that, or whether it's tackling antisocial behaviour issues in the town centre, working also alongside with Gloucestershire Police, and also further to that, taking very seriously intimidating and threatening behaviour towards women and girls in the town centre. I think that it's great that the bid is looking to particularly further support independent businesses by increasing the rateable value, and also looking to expand east and west. It was good to see that the previous 5 years there was a £2 million investment, but with that expansion, it could be up to £2.7 million investment for the town. So I think that's really, really positive, and I wish the bid all the success with their ballot. Thank you.
Any other member wish to comment? No. Could I see a show of hands, please, to approve the recommendations as they're set out? Thank you very much. That's unanimous. The next report is actually the antisocial behaviour policy, and that is again the report of the Cabinet Member for Housing and Customer Services. Again, I will present the report in her, or just introduce the report in her absence. So the antisocial behaviour policy focuses on the council's updated antisocial behaviour policy for housing services. And this isn't just a policy refresh, it's a part of a wider service improvement plan aimed at making things clearer and more supportive for tenants. The team has worked hard to make sure the policy speaks directly to our residents and explaining what counts as antisocial behaviour, how different agencies work together to tackle it, and what tenants can expect from the council's antisocial behaviour team. One of the key goals here is to improve tenant satisfaction, and by setting out realistic expectations and outcomes, the council hopes to build trust and make sure people feel heard and supported. The policy also reflects strong partnership working. It's been shaped by feedback from internal teams, external partners like Gloucestershire Police and Victim Support, and even a tenant focus group held during the ASB Awareness Week. And that feedback was overwhelmingly positive. Ultimately, this policy is about being fair, clear and responsive, making sure that when antisocial behaviour is reported, it's dealt with in a way that's proportionate, evidence-based and focused on helping everyone feel safe and respected in their homes. Happy. Any member want to comment on this report? Councillor Atherstone.
Thank you, Leader. Yeah, I'd just like to note that the summary policy document really is very clear in terms of, knowing what is antisocial behaviour. And I was really, really keen to fully appreciate myself what was going to be listed. So I'm just going to say it out loud for those that are watching on YouTube. So antisocial behaviour includes loud noise or shouting, drug use or dealing, threats or verbal abuse, hate crimes and vandalism or fly tipping, because I think that perhaps that sometimes people might not fully appreciate what ASB is and how to report it. Those are all signs of antisocial behaviour. So yeah, really, really do support this report and the clarity that has been given.
Councillor Jeffreys.
Thank you, Leader. Yeah, antisocial behaviour is one of those really, really tricky ones because it's that accumulative effect. You know, when your neighbour is doing something, it may annoy you, or maybe antisocial, may not be, but it's that cumulative effect over weeks and months, and it can really have a real negative impact on your mental health because this is your home. And I've seen firsthand in my community, I'm sure colleagues have seen it across their wards as well and across the town, where, you know, people are affected by antisocial behaviour in their homes. So I think this policy, this update is much needed, especially given how housing services are being redesigned and looked at. So I'm fully supportive of this sort of policy because wherever we can, we always do and try and support our residents. I think this is one of those policies which goes overlooked sometimes. So I'm really, really grateful it's here now. Thank you, Leader.
Councillor Pinniger.
Thank you, Leader. I've had presentations from the antisocial behaviour team in the past, and I have to say it's one of the most impressive functions, or it was one of the most impressive functions of the housing team that we brought into Cheltenham Borough Council. The people who are in this team are amazing with what they have to put up with and how they work with residents. I wanted to mention that. I also wanted to mention that I was really pleased to see the lower reading age pamphlet that clearly has come from Flo Klukas, who's always talking about easier reading. And I think that could be spread to other areas, like maybe the licensing policy and things like that, because it really is very clear and worth doing, I think. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you. I'm sure that will be noted and Flo will get to see the minutes. I think the only thing that we need to do with this is any other member. I can't see anybody else indicated to speak. So I just need to say, do we agree to approve the adoption of the Housing Service Antisocial Behaviour Policy? If I could see a show of hands. That is unanimous. Thank you very much. The next report tonight is the revocation of air quality management, and that is the report of Councillor Atherstone.
Thank you, Leader. I have great pleasure in being able to confirm, further to DEFRA guidance, we are now in a position to successfully revoke our air quality management area for the busy main roads around the Royal Mail sorting office at the lower end of the High Street. The area has been monitored for levels of nitrogen dioxide since 2020 due to levels being above a satisfactory level of 40 micrograms per cubic metre at that time. Over the past 5 years, however, the levels of nitrogen dioxide have decreased across all 6 monitoring points within the air quality management area, now ranging between 19 micrograms per cubic metre up to 30 micrograms per cubic metre across all points, well below the 10% marginal compliance limit. A substantial decrease was seen during the first year of monitoring due to the coronavirus lockdowns, and levels have remained constantly lower due to changes in both commuting habits and types of vehicles that are being driven, such as electric and hybrid cars. Our environmental protection team have already discussed this proposed revocation of the air quality management area with DEFRA, who have approved this course of action. This action has also been discussed with colleagues in the public health team at Gloucester County Council, who have agreed it should be pursued too. Air quality is still being monitored across the town, including particulate matters such as PM2.5 and PM10, as well as nitrogen dioxide, as these fine particles come from a wide range of sources, including road vehicles with engines of all types, industrial sources, agriculture, and domestic combustion. So we can continue to reduce levels of pollutants as much as possible. By revoking the air quality management area, it will also make the associated air quality action plan obsolete. So further to DEFRA guidance, we must develop a town-wide air quality strategy instead. Our officers will take the lead on this initiative and will work with key stakeholders to achieve an ambitious air quality strategy that leads to positive change affecting our whole town. I ask that you approve the recommendation as set out in the report. Thank you.
Any member wish to comment? Councillor Pinniger.
I think this is really good news. I'm really pleased to see that we've had a success here. We've managed to move out of what is effectively special measures on that section of road. And I'm excited to work on the new strategy with you. Though it's often controversial trying to reduce air pollution, it's really important for healthy communities in particular, and particularly at traffic pinch points. So there's work to do, but this is great news. Thank you.
Councillor Jeffries.
Thank you, Leader. Air quality, one of those hidden killers we can't see, but we can soon know about. So yeah, this is very good news that these changes are coming into play. I can remember having some conversations about those AQMA areas and discussions previously. I've been around that long, unfortunately, or fortunately, I'm not quite sure which. But very good news now. And I think, as Councillor Pinniger's mentioned, the strategy moving forward will be much needed, especially for the whole town. I think if you look at where the town will be in another 20 years' time and the west of town and all that development, I think we can set the foundations for hopefully not having as much air quality issues moving forward. So yeah, I welcome the strategy and I welcome the council members' hard work on this. Thank you.
Councillor Baker.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. I live on a main road in Cheltenham and recently installed some extractor fans which had filters on them. And I was staggered that within about 6 months, they were absolutely black and laden with obviously particulates and dust and everything else. And everybody who lives on an urban road, a main road, is going to have that same experience. Every time they open their window, every time they open their door, they are going to be having this air coming into the house. You've only got to look at the outside window ledges and the windows to see how quickly this stuff accumulates. It's in the air and it's coming from vehicles, it's going from tyres, it's going from brake pads. It's a huge problem. I think one of the problems is that nationally, the current government policy is not strong enough. It doesn't accord with World Health Organization guidelines as far as I can see. We need to be tougher on this. It's a real issue, and as Councillor Jeffries said, it's a killer. Every day, our children walking to school, everybody walking on our roads is inhaling this stuff, and it's a huge problem. I'm pleased that we're doing what we are, but we need stronger legislation. I would also like to just mention Charlton Kings Parish Council, who have just introduced a trial programme to try and reduce traffic idling at junctions and things. A great initiative they've taken with signage coming up to all junctions, because every motorist also is a resident breathing air. And if residents can get it, if motorists can get it, they are residents too. Look after themselves. So well done, Charlton Kings Parish Council, and I hope that it's something that we might be able to roll out across the town. Thank you.
Councillor Telford.
Thank you. We're all chipping in. I think that it's really positive to see that the progress that has been made for, the air quality management area to not be needed anymore where it is. I think that's a really positive step forward and shows the changes, obviously, the work that's been done by the council and with the county council and with all these different organisations, but also the work and the changes people are making to their day-to-day lives. There's so many challenges and more costs and stuff if you switch to electric car, all these things, but people are doing it because they believe that we should live healthier lives and be able to have a better future from a climate point of view. And I think that's really positive. I do think this provides a really great opportunity as well. Losing this and going to a town-wide strategy is perfect, because actually, as Councillor Baker mentioned, as a resident and as a councillor for a densely populated town centre ward, living right next to a busy road, I know what it's like to have all of these cars going by and when it's a hot day and all the pollution, and you hear that from residents. But actually what is notable is how much better it is than it was. And I think if you go on the website, you can look through, because I decided to do this, to see the different levels of nitrous dioxide, all the different points where we're measuring it across the town, and you can see actually how much it has gone down in the last 5 years, let alone historically. And I think that's really, it's quite reassuring actually, because you do think about it quite a lot and you go, actually, it's not as bad as I thought it was, and it's got a lot better. But it also gives a lot of data to build on and go, has these changes made it worse, or have this change made it better? Which I think is really important, because we can all anecdotally feel X, Y, Z, but then when you get it and go, oh, the levels are half what they were 4 years ago on London Road, it's really positive, because you can see that and make decisions on yourself on what kind of vehicles you might purchase to try and help that as well. I think it's really good, and I do look forward to seeing the strategy when it comes forward, because I think we'll all have a lot of feedback to put into that and what we hear from residents, and I think that's going to be a really good thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Some very good conversations there had in supporting this. It just shows the importance, doesn't it, of actually, you can't be a climate change denier. It is self-evident. Can I ask Cabinet to please approve the recommendation? So it's the revocation of the existing 2020 AQMA, and subject to us approving that, it's then also our authority to delegate to the Head of Public Protection in consultation with the Cabinet member. And also the other one is to authorise the production of an air quality strategy. Can I see a show of hands to support that, please? So that's unanimous. Thank you very much. The next report on today's agenda is the corporate plan, end of year performance report, and a refresh of our corporate plan. I think and this is the report and it sits within the leader's portfolio. So I'm thank the officers for the input and the changes. And this was very much about, with new rules and regulations coming out, new government, this was an opportunity to really look at and refresh and focus on what our priorities are, reaffirm those priorities. We needed to do that to reflect the evolving responsibilities, and particularly following the reintegration of our housing services into this council. So the updated plan sets the strategic direction, as you know, for the next 3 years, ensuring alignment with local needs, national developments and the council's expanded role as a housing provider and landlord. There's not a lot, because this is going to go to full council on Monday. I think, and what we have to do today is actually say that we're noting it, and then it goes on to council for them. But our corporate plan is, in my language, I would say, pretty much alongside our constitution. It is our transparent promise that we say this is what our priorities are. When we get elected, we set those corporate priorities. That's our role as cabinet. So the plan was reviewed because of the integration of housing services back in 2023. Didn't realise that a couple of years has already gone past. And the progress review, it's a 2-year review from the 23 to 2027, the plan that highlighted achievement and areas for improvement. In national policy shifts, changing the context, is because there are national policy shifts and local developments that needed a refreshed focus. Our corporate priorities haven't changed: securing our future, positioning us as the Cyber UK, driving economic growth, quality homes, safe and stronger communities, delivering affordable housing through our £180 million investment plan, and enhancing community safety and cohesion. Also, reducing carbon, achieving net zero and creating biodiversity, supporting Cheltenham for our goal to become net zero by 2030 by doing exactly those things, promoting biodiversity and sustainable practices. So, and we also, one of our priorities is reducing inequalities and supporting better outcomes for our residents. I think, and then taking care of our money, of our residents' money, it's ensuring a modern, efficient and financially sustainable council, enhancing digital services and the customer experience. So the performance report for 24-25 is, we've got some strong areas. So affordable housing delivery, despite some delays, cyber infrastructure and innovation centre progress, ICT reliability and digital service improvements, decarbonisation grants and energy efficient housing upgrades. But of course we have challenges, and those challenges, homelessness prevention has been impacted by the rising private rental costs significantly, recruitment difficulties within our planning enforcement, and also lower than expected income in some service areas. But overall, we are a council that delivers and always looks and questions and challenges ourselves on what we're doing. As I say, goes on to council for next week, but is there any member that would like to make a comment on this report so far? Councillor Pinniger.
I appreciate that it moves on to council. I did just want to note, really, and it's a prediction rather than a comment on this one. I'm glad to see, that one of the 5 key priorities is reducing carbon, achieving council net zero and creating biodiversity. But I do expect within the timeline of the plan that we will move more on towards adaptation to the changes in the climate, given the last 6 months of weather. And although we can make a plan, I do think the timetable at this point is probably being driven by the climate itself. So just wanted to note that.
Councillor Baker.
Yeah, I just quickly want to mention, I've just come back from a local government conference, training session, actually, with members of cabinet from councils all over the country. And Richard was there with me. And it's no accident that we are such a well-run, well-managed authority. When I hear some of the stories from other authorities all around the country, I shudder. I think, thank goodness I'm not a councillor in your area. dealing with those issues. So I think these things don't happen by accident, as I say. So it's huge congratulations to all the staff involved and obviously the cabinet members who do such a good job of protecting our frontline services in what are really challenging circumstances. And also that we're still looking to recruit and strengthen, particularly in the planning area and the enforcement area. We are a progressive authority, and whatever happens down the line with LGR, we can be really, really proud, I think, of what we will be transferring into that new authority.
Any other member wish to comment? Thank you both for your contribution. The recommendations are clearly set out, so can I ask Cabinet to give me a show of hands, please, on sending this on? Thank you, that is unanimous. So the next report, in fact our final public report of the evening, is the General Fund and HRA Outturn report, and that's the report of Councillor Jeffreys.
Thank you, Leader. Colleagues, the General Fund Revenue Capital Outturn report for the year 24-25, a budget I can remember setting and being in this chamber at the council meeting. And I think if my memory serves, I reeled off a list of about a dozen or half a dozen, too many to remember, crises that we've been facing as a council and as a country up and down the time. So at the time of setting this budget, we've been going through quite a lot of turmoil financially. And I think if you read the report and the paperwork now, you'll see that things have been decidedly different. You'll note there's an underspend of £913, which I have to say I can't take all credit for. My cabinet colleague held the ship steady for a year, but all the finance team behind the scenes. I think it is a remarkable achievement if you think of what you can read in the report of the overspends and the turmoil, to have that relative calm. So maybe it's the sign of green shoots, as they say. I'm not going to speak at length of the detail of the report because it is going on to full council, which I do need to make a confession. I did speak to the monitoring officer briefly, but I think, Leader, I may have made a faux pas and not made in the recommendations any mention of it going to full council. So I think we need to verbally mention that here to you now that this report is going on to full council, and I'll get those recommendations checked prior to full council. Colleagues, I'll speak more at the full council meeting, but I'm happy to take any questions, Leader. Thank you.
Any member? Councillor Lewis.
Just to offer a compliment to the cabinet member on this. I mean, I was cabinet member for a year. It was kind of a bit of a cheeky trip out, but this particular bit of green shoots is very much the responsibility of Councillor Jeffreys, and it is truly incredible. I mean, I work in sort of politics, and I meet a lot of people who are doing or trying to set incredibly tough budgets. Councils that have gone bankrupt, councils on the brink, councils flogging off assets every week simply to stay afloat. And it's somehow quite incredible that we've ended up with about 900 quid spare. I'm sure they would ask for it, but we certainly couldn't give it. And I'm sure however we spend it will be as efficient and well managed as every other penny in that budget.
So, Councillor Baker.
Yeah, just the cheeky plea really to the cabinet member. Could he transfer that into the parks budget, please?
Councillor Jeffreys.
We do practice stringent financial management, so that'll go into general balances, where I think it's probably best well spent across the organisation. But thank you for the request. I'll take it on board.
So with the proviso of the change that's needed, which is that Cabinet actually approves this, but send onward to Council, please could I see a show of hands? Thank you, that's unanimous. So that is the end of the public reports. We now come on to the briefing from members. So I'll hop around the room. Councillor Lewis?
Your mic's
Oh, sorry.
We're all good. We're all good. Thank you, Leader. Last time I told you I was going to bring you some really exciting news, so I am delighted to be able to bring it. It was a little bit nerve-wracking. I was sitting up in that right top corner of the public gallery as we made the momentous decision, or the planning committee did, to approve outline planning permission for the Golden Valley. It's a scheme we feel like we've been talking about forever, but now we do have outline permission and we're cracking right on ahead on the later, more detailed planning application that's coming shortly. But it was, particularly as somebody who attended the planning committee meeting very nervously in the top corner, as I said, really heartening to hear so many councillors across the chamber so incredibly supportive of the work that's being done. Even the planning officers were as supportive as a planning officer can be. It's an incredible investment in Cheltenham and its future, whether it's careers, homes, new schools, new local facilities, fantastic new public transport access. It's something that Cheltenham has needed for so long, and it's so exciting to finally be clearing those first blocks. I'll also say that letters have just gone out to the neighbours of 320 Swindon Road, which is incredibly exciting. It's a former car park that we bought and have had some tough challenges trying to make deliverable, because we wanted to deliver it as a 100% affordable development, rightly, because it's such a shortage of affordable homes here in Cheltenham. So we have officially sent off the letters to tell them that the scheme will be kicking off shortly, that they can go to a Meet the Builder event, which is very exciting. If you ever want to meet a builder, they have the chance to do that. And most importantly, it gives us the opportunity to take full advantage of our £2.8 million worth of Homes England funding. It's an incredible number, given just how high their standards are for every last penny they give out. £2.8 million, which is going to support our 17 affordable apartments and 7 houses, which will be available through social rent and shared ownership. The scheme also includes hedgehog highways. I love a hedgehog highway, so I was very happy to see that. And bat boxes, bee and bird boxes. Lots of new homes, not just for people, but for the environment. Construction works are scheduled to begin in autumn 2025, which is incredibly exciting. And it will be our first major in-house social housing building that we've done in a very, very long time. And I could not be more excited to see it happening. I've also just seen the designs for the hoarding that's going to go out just to cover up the slightly grotty looking car park as we start building. And they're very swag. You will love to see them. They are a fantastic investment in this great new site.
Thank you, Councillor Lewis. It just reminded me of how long that site has been empty. I know this is a briefing session, but actually, I was around when that site was operational in various different guises, but also the fact that it's actually sat empty for, I don't actually know how many years, but far too many years. I think it's 4 or 5 years. It's just not. And one of the key decisions when we were talking about actually bringing Cheltenham Borough homes, or bringing our housing services back in-house, it was about actually that very fact that we wanted to deliver more affordable homes ourselves for our residents. And actually, we only, I say 2 years has gone by, but in that 2 years since we brought housing back in-house, look what we've got, finally, which is really exciting. I don't usually comment on things like that, but I just thought I really felt quite strongly about that one. Councillor Atherstone.
Thank you, Leader. I was pleased to join partners, the BID and Gloucestershire Constabulary at the launch of the new Safer Streets Summer Initiative. It's great to see that through collaboration with all partners within the community, there's going to be high alert for checking out and spotting antisocial behaviour and loitering and intimidating behaviour, protecting shops and businesses with regards to improvements with regards to shoplifting. So it's a whole broad initiative for the town centre. It's happening nationally, and I'm really pleased that that's been taken forward. Really, really great partnerships we've got there. I'd also like to do another shout out, because this is the last Cabinet meeting before Party in the Park and No Child Left Behind initiative, completely free family event on Wednesday the 6th of August. We're taking over all of Pittville Park on both sides of the Easham Road. There's going to be up to 50 different free activities. There'll be something for everyone, with huge inflatables, theatre performances with regards to singing, dancing, arts and crafts, skating, all different types of sporting activities. So really something for everyone to enjoy. The event has a quiet hour at 10 a.m. for anybody that will prefer a less noisy and busy environment, and then everybody else is welcome at 11 a.m. and activities and performances will go on to 7 p.m. in the evening. So yeah, big shout out. It's free, and I look forward to seeing as many families there as possible on the day.
Councillor Telford.
Thank you, Leader. I've had a lot of meetings, far too many to realistically list. But there are some really exciting developments coming soon that I look forward to sharing. But two things I will say. First, I met last week with officers and Councillor Joe Harris from the new Gloucestershire County Council administration to have a bit of a reset of our relationship between councils and work towards a positive new direction for our town centre highways and public realm. We're going to be working together and engaging with key stakeholders such as civic society, Cheltenham Beard, residents and businesses on any ways forward that are taken. But I think it's clear that businesses, residents and visitors expect and deserve an improved public realm in our town centre. And I think this is a really great opportunity to actually deliver that. And I'm really positive that we can work together to do so. And I'm really looking forward to what will come in the future and really pushing our town to the level it should always be. As part of kind of pushing our town to be really good for visitors and residents, you might have seen outside, but the Lions at Large is now launched across Cheltenham and Gloucester. And these are 32 large decorated lion sculptures on the trail, and there's lots of smaller ones in shops and things like that too. And there's different art on them, different kind of creative ways they've been decorated. And they're all really interesting. And it's in support of Cheltenham and Gloucester Hospital's charity and the Big Space Cancer Appeal, obviously trying to make a new cancer space at Cheltenham Hospital, which I think we can all agree is a really important initiative to be supporting. And the trail is great fun for family and should bring in a huge amount of visitors, I'm told, to our town and to Gloucester city centre as well, supporting all of our local businesses when they're all obviously really struggling. And I think that's really, really positive. And it's a great example of different organisations, the councils and the bids and obviously the charity all coming together to create something and make something happen that's both supporting the NHS, but also supporting our businesses and making our town fun during the summer. I'm walking the Cheltenham part of the trail tomorrow because Cheltenham Bid are doing a net walking event, so I'm joining them for that. So I'm really excited to see these lions out in the wild, as it were. But I do encourage anyone, however many people are watching online, but everyone here to actually go out and do it. You can download an app or you can get the little map and go out with kids and friends and family and stuff and just go see all the lions. It's just quite fun. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Pinniger.
Thank you, Leader. Well, it's been a short month for me because I did take a holiday, and at the end of that, I caught COVID. So, unfortunately and sadly, I missed the Changemakers Sustainability Showcase at the Wilson, and that was put on by 5 schools and the children. And I understand from the Mayor, who did attend, and the Deputy Mayor, that it was a fantastic event. So, well done to all of those people. However, I was well enough then to attend the Leckhampton High School to support their active travel survey results. And I've passed that along to Councillor Horwood, who's now taking forward their recommendations as their parish and county councillor and borough councillor. So all of this activity amongst our younger people is very inspiring. I was pleased to see all of that. I also attended a community energy day with the Southwest Net Zero Hub. I spoke to representatives from the Department of Energy Security and Net Zero and saw the scale of these schemes. I didn't realise, when you think community energy, that's a few solar panels on a house. But the windmill we went to visit cost £5 million. It's just on the Severn Estuary down near Weston, and is returning hundreds of thousands of pounds of money each year to the local community. We then moved on to a solar farm on the Somerset Levels that's been running for 10 years, generating 9 gigawatts of solar. over 60 acres, and that's actually generated over £1 million for Bristol community organisations. So these are big schemes. Community energy groups in our locality, though, are kind of embryonic, but I hope to be working hard to make these kind of things a reality for Cheltenham too, with the team. I attended the launch of the tree strategy consultation, which was really good and well attended. Sorry, stealing your thunder there. And finally, I've been making connections. I managed to attend the Climate Leadership Gloucestershire meeting while I was on holiday, because I knew the next one is in September. That was in June, so there was a big gap over the summer. I've also spent the day with Councillor Martin Horwood, County Councillor Martin Horwood, at that Southwest Net Zero Hub event. So I'm making connections. He is my counterpart in the county, so we're working together already, which is great. And I met another counterpart from a completely different county, Helen Davies from Baberg in South Sussex, on the LGA Cabinet Training course, which was absolutely excellent. There were 24 other cabinet members there from across England, and I would say it's fascinating to hear of their challenges, but actually this is where Paul was saying our council does rather well, because some of their challenges are very, very large indeed. And as a result of that, I'm ready to get on with the work at our own council in Cheltenham. So let's go. Thanks, Leader.
Councillor Baker.
Thank you, Leader. I should start off with the fact that 7 of our parks have been awarded the Green Flag, got the Green Flag Award again, and this is a great accolade, and it basically sets the bar. The award sets the bar for the quality and standard of parks across the country, and year on year we've performed so well in it. And it reflects a number of things. It reflects community involvement, and I've always waxed lyrical about the role played by friends groups in our town, but they play a great part in this award. But it also reflects the biodiversity of our parks, the environmental management in terms of climate change adaptation. It reflects the maintenance of the parks, the health and safety of the parks, and the welcoming and the safeness and access of our parks. So, now, well done to everybody involved in those awards. We've got a lot of parks in town, and I very much hope that 1 or 2 more parks might be considered for that award in future years. Richard alluded to mentioned the launch of our tree strategy. Cheltenham is referred to as a town within a park, and many parts of our town benefit from substantial trees, which gives amazing amounts of shade, and it's such a difference to walk down a tree laden street compared to a street with no trees. You notice the difference straight away. But many parts of our town are really devoid of tree cover, which is quite surprising. And I think part of this strategy will be to sort of equal up or introduce tree cover to areas which currently are bereft of it, for lots of reasons, including mental health, but also habitat diversity, and, as I say, shade. And finally, I just wanted to warn the finance member that I am going to be looking to try and put a bid in to try and get some money to do some dredging of our lakes. We've got some really big problems in our lakes, which are lakes and ponds, which are years and years and years of silts and debris building up. And that's causing big impacts on diversity, on nature, on water capacity, which could have flood implications. And I think, our parks are wonderful things, but sometimes we forget the actual lakes and ponds, which form a big feature of those parks. And we really do need to do some investment into dredging. So I'll be in touch. Councillor Jeffries. Thank you.
Councillor Jeffries.
Thank you, Leader. I don't normally have much to say in these briefing sessions, because I think financing assets is sometimes couldn't be described as fun or necessarily exciting, but it's very much essential. I can hear my cabinet colleagues wonderfully brief on all the exciting things they've been doing. So I will endeavour to make a bit more of an effort for the next cabinet meeting. I did want to mention, though, actually, Councillor Lewis's mention of the planning application, or the outline planning application that went through the planning committee, because actually it is a monumental moment, because I sat here, and I know you have as well, Leader, and so have our colleagues, over a number of years, when the vision for that site was about underpinning income for saving these services in our town. It goes back a lot of years when austerity was kicking in, and this council took those commercial decisions. And this took a long time to come about. Okay, there's been a pandemic in the middle and all other things going on. But actually, if you look at how this not only boosts the economy, provides all kinds of jobs and housing and everything, but actually provides a little bit of revenue for this council to underpin delivery of those services. I think some time ago we would have been financially independent of government, maybe. Maybe that's something, again, in the future that we can hand on to another authority through LGR, or maybe, who knows. Councillor Baker, I'll note your request, but obviously there's a lot that goes on in the finance and a lot of requests come our way, but I'll endeavour to have that further conversation with yourself as and when. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you all. I mean, it's a well-known fact, isn't it, that we had marketed the airport to sell, and so I'm really pleased that we have managed that sale, or we found a preferred bidder within that process. We're not yet at the sign where we're going to say we've sold it. There's quite a lot of due diligence that needs to be done before then, but it's created, and I think it's actually created quite a lot of relief that for quite a lot of businesses within the airport, that actually they finally know that who that bidder is going to be and what that might entail. So, but I couldn't not mention that. When I went to the Local Government Association conference, I think that was last week, or I can't remember actually. I think it was last week. And they say a week in politics is a long time, but I just think, I was the South West Council's network we have our AGM there, and we are part of the South West Council's network, and I was really pleased to accept on behalf of this council the member development charter, which they were, our Democratic Services Unit have led on, and particular thanks to Jackie Chellin as well, to Councillor Chellin on that. But so I was able to drop that into them because I didn't want to just carry it around because I didn't want to crush it. So they actually posted it. But we will do a bit of comms around that because it's really beneficial to, it's important, isn't it? It's the working relationship that we have with our officers and with our members, because often when you become a member for the first time, it's a bit like, oh, and although we do have some really good package and offers that we offer all those new councillors. I want to just correct a comment I made on the Monkscroft one, because whilst I'm correct that 2023, that was when we made the decision to bring it back in-house, but actually it's only been, and we did that transfer incredibly quickly in 7 months of a TUPE transfer, all of it happening. So actually it's even more awesome that we're bringing forward that development, because that's barely a year. And I just wanted to correct my statement on that. But the other one, just the final piece from me, could I please encourage all members and anybody, member of the public who's watching on YouTube, could I please encourage you all to actually sign in on the local government reorganisation engagement piece. It's really important that we do that, especially as members, but also, we want to hear from the public of the questions that are there. And because we need that to feed into what comes next. But it'll be the government ultimately that makes the decision. But this is not consultation, but it is engagement with gathering people's thoughts. In the same way, can I put in a really big plug in terms of, because of LGR, we kicked off a governance review, a corporate governance review. So looking at all of our parishes, having that dialogue, and that is currently out for consultation. I think it closes in the next couple of days, but could I please encourage you all, if you haven't already done so, to fill in that. And the other one is that our resident survey is now active, and the calls are being made, and it's online for people to fill in. So encourage everybody who wants to fill it in online, and I look forward to seeing the results of that in due course. I think that's everything from me. We then move on to member decisions. There were 3 decisions by Councillor Atherstone.
Thank you, Leader. 2 of my decisions were to approve 2 updates to licensing policies to go out for public consultation. Both of those will be going out on the 28th of July, I believe. The first is our revised statement of licensing policy. And I think there's some particularly key updates to that policy this year, including a lot more information with regards to violence against women and girls, and including the changes of law with regards to drink spiking, which is now a criminal offence, whether that is with a drug or whether that is with alcohol itself. And then the other revised policy that's going out for consultation is our street scene policy and pavement licensing policy. And then finally, I made a decision to approve the proposed wording for the vehicle emissions policy. Thank you.
And the other 2 decisions were made by myself. I've already said that, so as the shareholder, at some time ago, this council delegated authority to me to be able to make the decision to sell the airport. And I made that decision formally on the 26th of June. Just a couple of days ago, I also made a decision on it's about a correction order for which is under 119 of the Planning Act. And this was around the M5 Junction 10 development consent order, which made a decision that would go to the County Council planning rather than us. Not because I don't think we could do it, but actually when we had the feedback through, it came from on high, if you like, for want of a better word, that actually, so the inspector actually said that it should be at the planning. So we didn't have a choice but to make that decision. So I took that as a leader decision. So that's it in terms of the everything formally for tonight. But we now move into section 9, which I need to read out in full. The Cabinet is recommended to approve the following resolution: that in accordance with section 100A4 of the Local Government Act 1972, the public be excluded from the meeting for the remaining agenda items, as it is likely that in view of the nature of the business to be transacted or the nature of the proceedings, if members of the public are present, there will be disclosed to them exempt information as defined in paragraphs 3 and 5, part 1, schedule 12A of the Local Government Act 1972. Namely, that paragraph 3, information relating to the financial or business affairs of any particular person, including the authority holding that information, and paragraph 5, information in respect of which a claim to legal professional privilege could be maintained in legal proceedings. Can I see a show of hands that members agree that? That's unanimous. So